All right, I can see us up there.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. I'm going to keep everyone muted here. Change this to speaker view. So if you're not muted, then you get a nice big
We're all
close-up on
silent?
the screen. What's that? All right, see people are starting to join the live stream on YouTube. So we're going to start this right at 1 o'clock. So we'll be kicking us off in a few moments. Not sure how Greg managed to pin himself so that he's the feature, but
Tom, did you want me to join on after all the updates just to cut down the number of participants?
I don't think that matters too much, Colin. So
Okay.
Look at all those beards. Is this a Civil War reenacting bunch?
this is a perpetual, never-ending off-season. So
No, it's
Yeah.
it's naval.
It's name.
all right, we're going to start in about 3 minutes. That's for the benefit of those on YouTube, or I guess those here on the Zoom call as well. So. We're up to 28 in here, so I think we got most people. Some late entries.
So Tom, sorry, are you going to want us to give a report and then just kind of turn off our cameras? Is that what I understand?
You can hang out here, or you could leave and then go pick it up on the live stream. Entirely up to you. But that's
Okay.
your report's the end of your participation on the Zoom. So
Unless I stand up, because apparently that's the thing right now.
I don't know. I'm going to try to mute you again.
Good idea.
All right, we're going to begin in about 1 minute. And we still have people joining the call here, so. You see, we have 30 in here and then 18 on the channel. We'll see when we cross that tipping point, we have more watching than are participating on the Zoom call. All right, I think it's time to kick this off. So who can I see? Greg, can you see, is my slide up right now? Okay, perfect. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 2021 edition of the Officer NCO School. And kind of wish we were doing this live in person 2 years in a row. We're doing it as a virtual format, but hey, here we are, and we're going to do the best we can with this. So just housekeeping notice, those of you watching on the live stream, the live chat is up. Chris McKay, if you ever watch any of the History Symposium chats, he's going to reprise his role and moderate comments in there. If there's questions, there are some opportunities for Q&As that then Chris will bring forward questions posted in the live chat. Also, it's a great way to interact with the other participants and viewers of this. So also, if you're joining, if you have the need to go, you can pause the live stream, come back and start it to wherever you left off. People joining late can go back to the beginning and watch it. So there's a lot of flexibility with this. And it will be recorded and saved on the channel so people can watch this after the fact if you wish to share it with a broader audience. So today, what we're going to cover off is an agenda where we are now. I'm going to ask our Brigadier General, Craig Williams, to give a greeting and some opening comments. I'm going to talk about event status, what we know of 2021 and 2022. So we know where people are at, the host sites. And then we'll pause for a moment, take some questions, and then we'll move on to the units. So we want this to be more interactive this year and feature a number of the different fine units that make up Crown Forces, but also some of the other organizations around us. So each unit will have an opportunity to give a report, and then from there we'll move on to a presentation from Colin and Ewan, where they're going to talk about some suggestions for when things open up a bit, if groups are having drill sessions, garrison days. Also, in the interim, some suggestions around kit maintenance and preparation for a season that might start somewhere. We want to introduce a concept around some videos that maybe we can post here on this channel, make it more of a resource for us, that being the YouTube channel. A final session of question and answer, some closing thoughts from Craig, and then I will wrap this up. So afterwards, we're going to have a pub hosted by Ryan Clark. Ryan, if you could post the Zoom link into the live chat, that would be great. There is the link there as well, if people want to make a note of that. Or, like I said, this is being recorded. You can go back and look at that. And then I'll feature the slide again as we come to the close. So at this point, I am going to turn it over to Craig. So Craig, if you can unmute yourself, and then
I'm already muted.
Comments. Perfect.
I live unmuted. Hello, welcome everybody. It's great to see everybody here. Beards and all. Got some white growing in there, guys. A couple of brief housekeeping things before I go any further. First of all, in case you don't have it, I have a new email. I don't have any visual aids or any slides or anything. So if you want to take it down, it's SGTWARNER191@gmail.com. Sergeant Warner at gmail.com. Oh, it's Sergeant Warner 191@gmail.com. Sorry. Okay. And maybe I'll repeat that again later in case anybody didn't get it. Once again, it's apparent that this is our season again. Tom and Chris have been keeping, and myself have been keeping our ear to the grapevine. and our finger on the pulse of what the different sites are doing, and we will defer to I'll defer to Tom's report on that very shortly. Pardon me. I know we're all chafing to get back out there. Even with the spotty rollout of the vaccine, there may be light at the end of the tunnel, perhaps even at the end of autumn, maybe, who knows? Fingers crossed. It'd be nice to be able to drill again and take, and you should take any opportunities you can once things, like if you get enough people who've gotten vaccinated, as long as you're all wearing, your masks or whatever, or socially distancing, you're getting together for any kind of a drill. I'm not saying this is the kind of thing you want to do next week. I'm saying this is, once you get a bunch of people who are vaccinated, get together for this. We want to be taking the opportunities to go over your timing and your safety with the musket or your gun. Those are the most important things, or the core things to start from. But again, we'll have a report from Ewan and from Colin a little bit later about those concepts. It's really important. The timing is really important, because when people watch us drill, well, they're impressed when they see everybody moving at the same time. It's usually the person that's out of sync that gets the attention. So, just keep that in mind. It's also important to refresh your muscle memory, particularly when it comes to safety, with the muskets. Anyhow, I'm just hoping that we will be able to get together sometime soon. I mean, in the autumn, maybe. But again, I will leave that report to Tom. And sorry, I'm just taking a look at a couple of my notes here. My apologies. I just, all I can say is at this point, I'm really looking forward to seeing you all again soon. It would be great. Now, one other housekeeping thing is that I may disappear from time to time because I'm dealing with some health issues that keep me running sometimes. So don't be surprised if I disappear. I will be back. Okay, Tom.
Thanks, Craig. Appreciate that. I'm going to put my slides up again. Unfortunately, we start off with that picture of Ryan, but I'll quickly move on. So sorry, Ryan. All right. I thought it's worth a comment, and this is just some calculations I did, and it gives an idea. So, we have people from different parts of Canada and people from the US on this call. So just to get an idea where we're at. In Canada, there hasn't been as many vaccines available to us. So Canada has taken the option to give a single dose to as many people as quickly as possible, and then try to get the second dose into folks at a reasonable period of time. So by my cocktail napkin calculation yesterday afternoon, things are ramping up. Ontario sees 40% of adults have received a single dose, and there's more every day. I think things are really going to accelerate over the next month. When I looked at the US, I used the NPR, or National Public Radio website, as a resource. 34.4% of the American or adults, I guess, are fully vaccinated, and more than 50% have received at least one dose. So slowly but surely, we're getting there. And then, the border, the situation with that is it remains closed at this time until May 21st. Don't know when it might reopen, but I guess I'm asking if that really matters, like our ability to have events, because events are at the mercy of the local public health units. For example, in the Niagara area, for Fort Erie to have an event, you need the Niagara Health Region to authorize outdoor gatherings, essentially of more than 1,000 people, and we're a long ways away from that. But beyond all of that, we recently hosted a call and had a number of the sites join us and talk about where they're at, where their thoughts are around the season. And that's going to inform the next couple of slides. But what really struck me was a lot of them they've really taken a financial beating through all of this. Those that are operating this year are doing so with reduced staff, reduced budgets, and more limited hours. So even if things open up, they may not have the personnel or the financial resources to host events. So keep that in mind. A lot of this, there's a lot more at play than just what the local health units are saying or where we are with vaccinations. So having said all of that, let's look at what we know of events. So here we are, Officer NCO School, doing it as an online event. Longwoods, no event this year. Fort Meigs in Perrysburg, Ohio, they are going to have their first siege event, but no tacticals. I think there's going to be restrictions, limitations, to manage the public, to ensure distancing, and so essentially safety protocols. Stony Creek was planning an online memorial for, I think it was June 6th, but that goes to show how difficult things are. That the couple video elements that were going to be a big part of that, they aren't possible to produce with the current stay at home order. So that might not be till the fall. Genesee Village have announced no 1812 event this year. That's in New York. Fort George has no plan to run any major events this year. Chrysler's Farm will not have an event. Fanshawe is not having an event. Sackets Harbor, no grand tactical. They may look to have small local pop-up events as they describe. And then Fort Erie, their siege weekend and Napoleonic event, both were scheduled for August. That they're not sure. So I think that's prudent. Wait and see, what the circumstances might be at that time. They think at minimum that they might do a memorial on the Sunday of the siege weekend, similar to what they did in 2020. Discovery Harbor, no plans for a major event. Fort Niagara at this time, their event is scheduled as planned. That's subject to change. Bacchus Mills, I put out numerous inquiries and pleas for information, but haven't heard back from anyone associated with that event or the site. Bacchus Page, originally we're talking about doing something in June. They've rescheduled for September. Dunvegan in Eastern Ontario, it's scheduled, but there may be some restrictions as we get closer to that. Mississinawa told me they're planning on having their standard event October 1st to 3rd. And Bradley House, the event is scheduled at this time, but subject to change. So I think if we've learned anything in this past year, it's difficult to plan too far ahead, and we have to be flexible, because just when you think you know what's going on, everything might change again. So let's look ahead to 2022. So I think a better chance that we will see a more normal world and some interesting things. So the River Raisin event in January, the folks from Fort Meigs are talking about coordinating a march, a 2-day march from Fort Meigs to the River Raisin in advance of the event. We're looking to do a live Officer NCO School at Fort York in the spring of 2022. And then you'll see a run of events where we're starting to get back to the standard schedule. Fort George is going to defer to Chrysler's Farm. Traditionally, Fort George and Chrysler's Farm would alternate years. So next year will be Chrysler's Farm. No idea what the status is around Fanshawe. Sackets Harbor, we hope at long last to have the Grand Tactical after trying for 2 years up till now. Fort Erie, return to a standard event. Discovery Harbor, not quite yet. Fort Niagara, as scheduled, not sure on Bacchus Mills. Dunvegan, Mississinawa, back to standard events or schedules. There are plans underway to do a 210th anniversary of Queenston Heights. So do the march from Fort George and have a tactical up on the heights. Bradley House, a standard event. And at some point in 2022, a date and the site is yet to be determined as far as I knew at the time I was preparing the slides, the Crown Forces Naval Establishment is looking to have a School of the Sailor. So I think at that point, I will pause. I will open this up for questions. So Chris, if you want to unmute yourself and then maybe bring forward anything that might have appeared in the chat.
Thanks, Tom. There's nothing in the chat just yet, but as I've said to a few people, and as you know, there's a delay between what we see on Zoom and what actually gets live broadcast on YouTube. So maybe we could just give that a minute, see if any questions come up. But like I said, there's nothing yet.
All right. And I'm pleased to see that now watching are more people than what's here on the Zoom call. So we passed that tipping point. So that's good. So. Seeing in the chat here, September of 2021, Fort Niagara is hosting a Rev War event, the British Brigade Grand Tactical. So I wish them luck. I hope that does in fact come off. So. All right, I got the chat up too, Chris. I don't see anything other than Ewan pulling your chain. So with that, I think we'll go back to our regularly scheduled event. So
thanks, Tom.
All right. So now we'll go to the unit report back. I will take the slide down in a moment, but I will call on an individual, ask them to unmute themselves and then give their report. I do have a hook, like the old Gong Show. They have 2 minutes. If they exceed that, then I shall mute them and move on to the next person. So, all right. So leading us off, representing the Crown Forces Naval Establishment, our esteemed colleague, Mr. Tom Hurlbut.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Tom. I'm not sure I can get it all out in 2 minutes. We are an entity that claims suzerainty over the entire continent and all the naval establishments on that, but I will do my very best. So last spring, we held our first virtual meeting where we decided to seize the opportunity, where everything's going to be virtual for a while, at least, to do some serious housekeeping, including formalizing our rank structure and our training to heavy elements on safety. With a bunch of disparate groups in different locations, one can understand how routines might actually get a little bit changed. Yes, rank qualifications. We now have committees that are working on social media, so we're trying to raise our profile in the community. One's on major event planning, which includes participation in Grand Tacticals, our own Navy-themed events when years when the Grand Tactical really doesn't lend itself to naval participation, and Schools of the Sailor. And we also have groups associated with trying to put together some tactical gaming. I've heard the term experimental archaeology. Well, why did they do things that they did at the time? This is an opportunity to play test some of those things and see how well they work. Let's see now. So with the cancellation of the major events in Canada, we're looking at small local events. Most of those will be in-house because, of course, if you can't camp, then people coming in from distance have no place to stay. So that's an issue. But HMS Psyche plans a number of small events. They sail out of the Port Credit area, and they have often linked up with other local groups, including United, which is the Sea Scouts out of Toronto, and Firefly out of Whitby. I'm hoping that we can take part, but again, without camping facilities, it's just a little too far to go for a day. Let's see now. So they have a series of COVID protocols that they follow, and we're particularly interested in that, seeing how and why they work, because we'd like to incorporate things like that, as we, of course, are also planning local in-house events. In the United States, things are a little different. So the ship's company, the Chesapeake, have a new cutter that they brought to Discovery Harbor, and they're working on. They talk about sanding the sides, wearing masks to protect themselves from the sand. Well, it also works really well to protect themselves from the COVID. HMS Chatham is looking at local events. They're out of Seattle. HMS Discovery, I think, is out of Los Angeles, is still looking to do the things that they normally do, mostly social, but they do animate the surprise on occasion in San Diego. HMS Nancy out of Minnesota, I think they're planning small events as well, including their own in-house schools. 2022, we're assuming everything's going to be open. We're looking at the School of Sailor in May. Yes, the location is still to be determined, mostly because we're not quite sure just which facilities are going to be available to us in May. The 3 locations we're looking at are Kingston, Hamilton, and Discovery Harbor. We're also looking at doing the Mulcaster Pursuit in early July to end at Kreiser's Farm reenactment. We did that in 2013, and it was a fabulous, fabulous event. Both the week on the water and the weekend at Kreiser's Farm. And of course, Sackett's Harbor Grand Tactical. 2023, well, depending upon the Grand Tactical location, it will determine whether we come, whether it's suitable for boats or not. And if not, then we're going to be looking at doing some other things, but they're still on the horizon. I don't think that was 2 minutes, but that's all I got.
Thank you, Tom. Well, you have considerably more seniority than me, so there's no way I was going to mute you or cut you off. So appreciate your report back. At this point, we will go to the HMS Nancy gun crew with Will Woods representing them. Will, you're still on mute there. There you go.
People prefer me on mute. Just a report in terms of what we've done this year is we've got about 14 members, actually. We're a fairly small unit, but we're a gun crew. And we're doing okay for numbers. We've got a few new recruits. We lost Matt, obviously, but we're doing okay that way. We did a make and mend this year, just to get together and establish connection, take the tube off and get the gun in shape. And then we did another one at Bacchus Page, which is the only event we actually attended. We've had a Zoom meeting that went fairly well. We've got some to say there are issues that have to be ironed out, I think is giving them too much emphasis. But in terms of the drill we're going to basically be doing is gun drill. The Navy doesn't march at gaggles, and as being a group of gunners, we won't be forming fours. So that's basically it. We're very interested in what's going to be happening in obviously later this year. There's talk about MAGs. I'm going to have to get more information on that. But I think we're going to be interested in going further than we normally do. We don't travel a great distance usually, but we will because we're just desperate for reenactments. So 2022 is looking good, and I copied the schedule, and I'll be showing that to the unit and getting them excited about that. That's about it.
Thank you, Will. Appreciate that. At this point, we'll turn it over to Matt Pindera representing the Royal Artillery Gun Crews. Matt, are you there? And you need to take yourself off mute.
Is that better?
Oh, there you are.
There we are. Sorry about that. I thought it got unmuted. Okay, start again. Good afternoon, everyone. As the Crown Forces Artillery Commander, my responsibilities are to look after all aspects of the guns and how they operate on the field, as well as the water. And although my personal impression is that of a foot artillery officer, as the captain, I am to make myself available to assist the Crown Forces Naval Establishment in matters concerning artillery. The pandemic has certainly dashed any hope of enjoying a typical reenacting season. Therefore, we living history organizations portraying field and naval artillery have also had to reinvent our approach to communicate and or physically gather together. And as you just heard from the Nancy's Will Woods, this is pretty much the norm now, right now. Staying in communication is paramount these days. And technology such as this format has made that task much easier because it takes place in real time for decent sized groups. So taking a lead from techie trailblazers like our Lieutenant Colonel Tom Fournier here, I have held 2 online artillery conferences, one in March and the other just last night. March's meeting saw representation from 12 different groups that concentrate their efforts on field artillery. We had Royal Artillery, Militia, and landed naval groups online. And last night, an additional 6 naval units complemented the former with about 24 individuals online participating and basically representing the naval establishment. I was lucky to have Commodore Thomas Hurlbut join us for the evening. And the farthest unit that was participating with us was their fellows Alexander McDonald, he goes by. It's Jack Black, and they do an engineer impression and whatnot. And they're from Manitoba, so that was great. So we had everybody from Bob Irvine in the Far East to Alexander McDonald from the Assiniboine. So that was great to have a wide range of people. I'm happy to report that none of these units have had any of their members stricken with COVID-19. They all express a deep desire to get back out there in the public's eye when finally permitted to. And when they have gathered in outdoor settings, they've all employed strict protocols to keep all attending members safe. Though through the use of face masks, hand sanitizing, gloved hands, proper distancing, whether on land or when sailing. I.e., I was told basically that if their boats are roughly 21 feet in length, that means only 3 individuals can be on board. And the crews stay in their designated spots when on board. There's no moving around, and they're always having hand sanitizer available and whatnot if they're passing something to and from. Properly coordinated weekend work crew gatherings, such as the one described by Mr. Woods, when permitted, being held outside, utilizing the recommended measures prescribed by local health authorities, seems to be the norm for those unit reps that I've been communicating with over the last few months. Other than a few naval units, most of the artillery groups have not interacted beyond electronic formats such as Zoom, except for equipment and trailer maintenance. So they are looking after their equipment and uniforms and the actual trailers to get the equipment to the reenactments. They've also made it clear that their organizations have not experienced losses in membership. Many are still trying to recruit or at least stay in communication with individuals that were contacted prior to all these lockdowns. And the regular memberships are chomping at the bit to get back at it. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate the update. Mr. Kevin Garrett, representing the 1st Royal Scot Grenadier Company.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, I have to unmute myself to confirm that.
Thank you. Yes, I'm with the Upper Canada Military Reenactment Society, portraying the Grenadier Company of the 1st Regiment of Foot. Our primary recruiting area is between London and Guelph, and we've got a few outliers here and there. At present, we have 1 officer, 1 sergeant, 16 soldiers, 4 camp followers, 2 children on strength, and we've been in touch with everybody to a greater or lesser degree. Unit morale is fair. There's some reluctance to have any sort of gatherings until everybody's vaccinated, which is completely understandable given our slightly older demographic. So basically we're in a watch and shoot posture as the various powers that be continually move goalposts and rearrange deck chairs on the Titanic. Over the last 12 months, we've managed to pull off a couple of drill days to try to engage some new recruits, and we've had a couple of Zoom gatherings to try to keep the unit in touch. We lost Dave Westhouse, as many of you may know. He has gradually been withdrawing from the hobby for the last little while and finally decided to pull the plug. So Steve Hartwick has offered to step up to portray the unit officer. I elected to stay in the company grumpy old sergeant position because I'm comfortable with it and I already own the kit. We have been doing some planning for the upcoming year until things were modified. We had tentatively organized a unit-only training weekend at Bacchus Page House, but with the present stay-at-home order, that one's been shut down. We've been in contact with Fanshawe Pioneer Village, so if Allah is merciful, we may be doing one-day events for Canada Day. They run a series of what they call trade days to highlight various period crafts and trades. Those are one-day events through July and August. They're weekdays, so our ability to participate may be limited. We still have a unit-only weekend tentatively planned at a undisclosed location near Acton, if we are permitted to do so, which will basically be a socially distant encampment. We have invested in a standard mask for the unit. They're a tan 3-layer mask that we got from Claire Sparling in Winnipeg, who did a lovely job on them. If anybody's looking for masks, contact me. I can drop you the information if you want. And again, doors open may be happening virtually at Fanshawe Pioneer Village in September. And then depending on our ability to gather, we may be having some drill days, but probably not too much in the way of overnight encampments because of the current situation. That's about all I got. Thus endeth the lesson.
Great. Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate that. Appreciate you joining us. Staying within the 1st Royal Scots, let's go to the line company and Ian Burns. Ian.
Hello, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well. 1st Royal Scots Center Company. We're a small unit that generally mucks in with the lights. We do an alternate early 19th century impression of the 42nd, which is actually where we started. 1st Royal Scots was going to be a thing that, well, we have most of the kit. Let's start showing up at those events, and they seem to have taken over. Our recruiting area right now is basically the Mid-Atlantic. We do have a couple of guys up in New England. And in our 42nd guys, we've actually even stolen some guys from north of that pesky border. How we stay, what have we been doing? Haven't been doing a whole lot. We've been staying in touch with Zoom meetings every second week, which is good because we have one guy right now stationed in England. It's kind of hard to see him otherwise. We're waiting for things to open up, and actually we do have our first event coming up the first weekend in June at Old Bedford Village, which is just west of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I realize that most of the people I'm talking to are up in Canada, but if you do have people down in the southern area here who are worried, who can't get across the border for events, I'd like to extend an invitation to them if they're around in the area and they'd like to get in contact with us and show up at our events. That's fine. Just about everybody in our unit has had at least the first COVID shot, and pretty much most of us have had the second as well, since we're old farts. That's about all I have. Yep, that's about it. Thanks.
Thank you, Ian. Moving right along, still within the 1st Royal Scots, the light company, Scott Ball.
So I'm the captain of the Royal Scots Light Company. We're situated out of London, Ontario for the most part as well, with a few members scattered throughout the province. Our unit strength has stayed relatively about the same since COVID started, one commanding officer, one sergeant, and anywhere from 8 to 14 muskets on the line. Our morale is basically the same as everybody else's. We're tired of COVID and want to get back to reenacting. The last thing we've managed to do in person as a group was the Longwoods Memorial March in 2020. We've done a few virtual campfires, we call them, and we did put on a mostly virtual Longwoods Memorial this March as well. Our rest of the year, we don't really have a whole lot planned. We're hoping to do maybe a drill day or two, depending on restrictions and that kind of thing right now. And then if any events do end up going ahead, then we'll have to kind of evaluate them and see if we think we can support them safely as a unit. That's about it.
Great. Thank you, Scott. Big jump in numbers. We're going from the 1st Regiment to the 41st Regiment. So Andrew Bateman.
Good day, everyone. Andrew Bateman from the 41st Regiment of Foot. Let's see, we're based primarily in Southern Ontario, though we have a few members on the American side and what's in the old Northwest. Our current strength right now is 1 officer, 1 sergeant, 1 corporal, 20 muskets, and we've actually picked up 6 recruits over the past year. So we can't wait to get those guys out and drilling. Unit morale, we have quite a few people who are anxious to get out, and some of them are quiet. So pretty much standard. What we've done over the past year with the COVID situation, we've had a handful of virtual pub nights. We had a few members out at the Fort Erie Memorial Service last August. Last fall, we had one socially distanced drill and live musket shoot out on private property owned by one of our members. And we had a cook-along session virtual. This year, what we've got planned is we have a virtual drill planned for this weekend. May, we have a game night, and we're going to have a wheel burning instead of going to Fort Meigs online. June, another cook-along, and by then we're hoping to have another live drill, if it's possible with the orders. And July, we're going to have a few members out at Education Day, Canada War. Past that, we're pretty much playing it by ear, depending on how things open up. So that's it for our situation.
Great. Thank you, Andrew. 49th Regiment, the Grenadier Company, Mark Stubbs.
Good afternoon, everyone. The 49th Grenadiers, we pull from all over Ontario. We have members in North Bay, Niagara Falls area, and in the Far East where I am, and even down into the Kitchener area. Currently, we're at strength of about 15, but we have 2 brand new recruits came to us through the help of Crown Forces in the recruitment effort. Morale in the unit, same as everyone else, I guess, fair to poor. It's difficult to judge right now. Nobody has expressed any desire to quit the hobby, which is fantastic. No one that I'm aware of has had any sickness at this point either. Unfortunately, my sergeant lost all his hair over the last month, so we're quite concerned about him. Please mention that when you meet him at the pub later on this afternoon. The last 12 months, all we've really been doing is Zoom meetings. We were pretty consistently Zooming everyone up until, well, I guess Christmas of this past year. The interest has dropped, and we'll be doing that a little bit more. But everyone's quite tired of the whole event. This coming season, again, we hope to arrange a private encampment as soon as we can avoid all the restrictions, all the limits that we have to get through that, and make sure that all our members are vaccinated, and we take all those precautions. We had a quick live shoot last year, and this location would do well for us again this year. That's all this afternoon.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate the update. At this point, I believe he joined the call in part of the rush, Thomas Walters. Are you there, please?
Yes, hello. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yep, got you perfect.
Okay, great. So, yep, I'm Thomas Walters, Corporal for the 49th Regiment of Foot Center Company. We have about 6 muskets, so a small group. Everyone is in Southern Ontario, except for me, trapped across the border in Western New York. I can't say that we've done very many activities in the last year or have anything planned coming forward. We have enjoyed the campfires and Zooms that the 49th Grenadier Company has done. So I think we're eager for reenacting to start again so that we can get back together and hang out. That's all I got.
Thank you, Thomas. Appreciate the update. We're going to now have the 2nd Battalion Royal Marines, Ed Sufert, report, please.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. How you doing? The Royal Marines has 10 members. One is a recruit. One's in Texas, one's in New England, and one's in England, just like Ian's group. The rest are here in the Mid-Atlantic. We did no shows last year like everybody else, though I actually did on my own 2 or 3 weekend events, singular, at a place that a historic site that I work with. Like everybody else, everybody's waiting to get out and do these things. We got 2 possible events that we're waiting on what the state or the county or even the state parks will let us do. Riversdale, Bladensburg in August, and Todd's Inheritance in December for, in September for Defenders Day. And like Ian, we have an alter ego group, Pomeranian Landwehr, and we too will be in Old Bedford Village in June. And anybody who wants to come down and sprechen Sie Deutsch with us, you're more than welcome. Anybody in the neighborhood, I'd love to have you. And that's about it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ed. So nice seeing you again. Next, just briefly, for the 89th Regiment, Harrison Burrell had registered, but unfortunately, a family situation came up where Harrison had to send along his regrets, and I just wanted to reflect that. So hope everything goes well with Harrison and his family. 1st Battalion, 95th Regiment, 2nd Company, Mark Somerville, please.
Hi there. So for the 95th, primary area is US east of Oklahoma and 1 in Canada. Yours truly. Right now we have 19 riflemen, 4 ladies, and this includes 3 new recruits for this year. We're doing pretty good on our morale given the situation. We have 1 member who's in Florida with COVID right now in the hospital. So event wise, we've done Heritage Days in Old Bedford Village in August of last year. We've done monthly video conferences every month, once a month, going over kit and day-to-day event information. Event schedule for this year, so far they've had Jamestown Military Through the Ages happened on schedule. They're this weekend, they're at Military Heritage Days. We've got Old Bedford Village in June for a mini tactique. We've got muster on the Mayu in Fort Regis in Ohio. Live fire qualifications for the rifles at in Virginia. Following all local COVID rules and regulations. We've also adopted our own set of COVID rules and regulations based on Williamsburg, I believe it is, their situation. Plus, every member's been issued their own regimental mask, cloth mask in our regimental colors. Following that, we've got maybe the Grand Tactique at Fort Erie. July 1st has been given the date of go, no go for that event. So we'll advise if that happens as of July 1st. Bedford Village Heritage Days in August, another tactique in Enview Plantation, Newport News, Bel Air Mansion in November. Sorry, the first one in Newport News was September, and then Marion, Indiana in October. And then we'll continue to hold video conferences for every month for the unit. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mark. Now staying with the 95th Regiment, but the 3rd Battalion, number 2 Company, Patrick Schifferdecker, please.
Hello, everyone. Our primary area of membership is Minnesota, California, and Michigan. We have 2 sergeants, 13 rifles, and 10 camp followers. Our morale is 8 out of 10, because I asked for a number. What we've been doing for the last 10 or 12 months is basically quarterly check-ins and check-ins via social media. And our next event that we have planned is Mississinawa. 100 time. I yield back to the chair.
All right. Thank you, Patrick. Appreciate the update. 100th Regiment, Joshua McCoy, please.
Thank you, Tom. So obviously I'm Joshua McCoy. For those who don't know me well, the 100th Regiment, we're based mostly out of Ottawa. We've got some members scattered around the area though. In terms of strength and morale, we've definitely seen a little bit of cooling. You know, some people haven't heard from in a little while, but, you know, hopefully they'll come back once we can actually do something. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to do much in the last 12 months in terms of events. We've been working mostly on, updating our drill manuals. We've done a couple of online things, but, COVID restrictions have put a major damper on what we are able and allowed to do. In terms of summer events, we're more or less giving up hope for this spring and summer. A few individuals like myself are really hoping for Dunvegan in September, smaller local events, but all of that will have to be played by ear. We are hoping and expecting, once restrictions allow, to be able to hold our own drill events again and be able to, do stuff locally. But obviously that's going to depend on vaccination statuses and provincial restrictions, especially since some of us are in Quebec and Ontario and have to be able to cross back and forth. That's pretty well what we've got going on with us.
Great, Joshua, thank you for the update. Much appreciated. Royal Newfoundland Regiment, Bulgers Company, Mr. Dave Brunel, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks, Tom. Actually, Tom, I'm going to be doing the Glengarry Lights with Ron, because we're actually all together. We have a complicated group. Our overall umbrella group is called the Historic Military Establishment of Canada, and under that umbrella we have the Bulgers Company, which is centered in central, maybe a bit southern Ontario. We also have Armstrong's Royal Newfoundland Company that's stationed in Sault Ste. Marie, so predominantly northern Ontario. And then of course we have the Glengarry Light Infantry that is stationed somewhat southern Ontario and central Ontario. In total, in our organization, we have 69 members. Those who portray strictly Bulgers, we have 5. R&R Armstrong from Sault Ste. Marie have 10. Strictly portray the Glengarry Light Infantry, we have 7. And then we have a combination of R&R and Glengarry Lights that can have both uniforms and kind of do whatever, go back and forth, depending what the need is at an event. We have 10 of those that can interchange between the units. Civilians, we have 37 civilians with women and children and men. At that point, let's see, we have 2 officers and 3 NCOs. Ron, is there 2 NCOs in the Glens? I forget, or is there 3?
2, Sergeant and Corporal.
Sergeant Corporal, yeah, so 3. So we have 3 in total between the 2, and I believe the Armstrong Company has 1 NCO, no officer. Morale is good. Our last event, we had a garrison weekend back in September 2020. We had about 48 members attend that, and that was at Discovery Harbor. In between that, we have a Zoom call every second Saturday, which I believe is today. So we've been getting out of that way. So various Zoom calls going through. And the only other event that we have planned at this point in time that may happen, of course, is another garrison weekend this September at Discovery Harbor for our core groups. And there you go. I'm done. And actually, this will take some time up. It'll encompass the Glengarrys as well, Tom. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave, and also briefly, Ron. So at this point, Royal Newfoundland Regiment, the 7th Company, represented by Bruce Nelson.
Hello, everyone. Hope everybody's safe and happy and healthy. We currently have approximately 14 on our distribution list that includes our effectives and interested parties. But we have approximately only 8 effective people led by a sergeant field commander and 1 corporal and 1 lance corporal. Over the last year and a half, we've received 2 references from the Crown Forces recruiting endeavor, which was good. One of those looks like it will pan out. The other did not bear any fruit. And we have 1 other individual within the hobby that's expressed an interest in our group. So possibly 2 recruits for the upcoming season, whenever that is. In general, morale is like everyone else. We keep in touch, as I'll explain just coming up, but kind of individually, those people that have specific interest in the hobby, communicating via email or text. Morale is generally good, but pretty much the same. We've had 1 exposure to COVID, which has also been taken care of and is no longer an active case. In the fall of 2020, we had a social pizza and wings with a full kit drill for about 3.5, 4 hours in St. Catharines. Lucky to have good weather for that day. We have a planned AGM, virtual AGM in May, in the first week of May. And in the spring, we have planned, subject to the provincial regulations and health warnings, to have a possible spring get-together overnight camp, again in St. Catharines, which will encompass basic manual of arms, refreshers, prime and load, a little bit more refinement of second rank positioning for battalion versus company firing, and interest in light infantry drill. And that is it for the Skinners Newfoundlanders.
Thank you so much, Bruce. We're going to move along to the Canadian Regiment of Fencibles. Mr. Dave Moore, please.
There we are. I'm unmuted. I'm speaking to you from the virtual library here at Buckingham Palace, in an outburst of morale and patriotism. So as you heard, I'm from the Canadian Regiment of Fencible Infantry. The primary area of membership for our unit is from Eastern Ontario. At the moment, we have about 45 men at arms. Our unit morale, I think, is pretty good still. I must admit, I was concerned, having missed 2 seasons, like the last year and this year, how many of our members would take the opportunity, being like many of your members, I'm sure, chronologically enhanced members, would take the opportunity to retire, having missed 2 seasons. But I think that isn't the case. And speaking to them about this, the Grand Tactical one down at Fort Niagara, a lot of members were hesitant, even if the border opens, to cross over. I would say 2/3 said they wouldn't go, even given the opportunity, and would wait till next year to fall in. but nobody said they were going to retire. So that's a good sign, I think. In the last 12 months, we've done a few little local events down in the Kingston area, grave markings mostly, with masks, socially distanced, filmed. A lot of it's put online, done with the local historical societies and so forth. And this summer, we're planning to do the same again, a few local limited events. And that's it for the Canadian Fencibles.
Thank you, Dave. Yeah, I had the opportunity to watch virtually one of your grave marking ceremonies. That was very well done. I appreciate what you guys are doing there. So if I have this right, we saw Ron Phillips briefly for the Glengarry Light Infantry, and Dave covered their report. Ron, if you have anything to say, mention it in the chat. I'll come back to you, but otherwise we'll go Glengarry Light Infantry Regiment in Eastern Ontario, and Jim Mullen, please. Jim?
Hello, everybody. I guess you can hear me. I'm Jim Mullen with the Glengarry Light Infantry in far Eastern Ontario of Glengarry County, near the border of Upper and Lower Canada. We currently have a total of 12 members, and we still remain hopeful for the death of the pandemic. Our members have been quite eager, and they have been taking the current situation and using it to their advantage to do research, work on kit, as well as coming up with a plan to attack a normal season. In 2020, we stayed in touch by email, and we're pretty old school in our regiment, and we do a lot of communication by phone, as well as we pulled off a couple of Zoom meetings. We did a full unit training weekend during what would have been the Dunvegan weekend at the Glengarry Pioneer Museum, which was very successful. Looking ahead to this year, our unit has been formally adopted by the Glengarry Pioneer Museum, and we're planning monthly training and campouts on site. And currently we are continuing with our recruitment, and we're working on education strategies with local schools currently now and onward into the future. And that's it.
Thank you, Jim. The Incorporated Militia of Upper Canada, Jackie Durham, please.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Tom. So glad to be here. It's been a long time since some of us have gotten together. The Incorporated Militia is having good morale. We see each other pretty much every week. I think we've had 57 Fridays in a row Zoom calls for Portnight. Some of us attend all of them and some of us do not. Last summer, we held a socially distanced camp in one of the farms owned by one of our members. That was great for some drill and a little bit of just getting the canvas out. We do have 2 private events on private property for those vaccinated lined up for this summer. We're just waiting on restrictions to lift and making sure everybody's vaccinated and that we can stay far enough away from each other, but still close enough that we don't need video screens. We have 4 or 5 potential recruits on hold, and 3 others came through that we have sent to units closer to their homes. We do include the Glens and R&R in our regular Zooms. We have seen them quite a bit as well, which is nice because the last time I saw the Glens was in Ogdensburg. So we also, under the umbrella of the MRSC, which is the Military Reenactment Society of Canada, we have an artillery company and our Camp Waller group who are equally involved in our Friday night Portnight Zooms and are keeping themselves also busy with their own types of Zooms. The ladies really enjoying their stitching and cooking and chatting amongst each other across the entire Crown Forces groups. Our ladies have really enjoyed a lot of that. And IMAC, our artillery company, has kept up their gun and is working on bringing it out a little bit more often when the rest of us are allowed out. So hopefully I got that in 2 minutes, and thank you very much, gentlemen. We'll see you on the field.
Thanks, Jackie. Well done. At this point, we are going to shift to the drums, Crown Forces 1812, and the drum major, Ross Flowers.
Thank you, Tom, and greetings to all. Our primary area of membership is the universe. We look for musicians wherever we can find them. So keep an eye on people in your group, because you never know when they're going to end up in the drum section. Our current strength is about 20, including color party and commissariat members. Our current morale is probably similar to that described by many of you, with the exception that we have been holding a Zoom practice night every Wednesday since mid-April 2020. And as a result of that, that has, I would say, helped with morale by being able to keep in touch with everyone, playing some music, which is, in our group anyway, always a happy experience. So it's probably, I would say it's better than not good. Not where we want to be, but there you have it. So that's what we've been doing. We had a couple of social evenings in 2020, and we've also held a couple of weekend practices for those people who can't make Wednesday evenings. What are we hoping to do this summer? If and when we're able to get outside and do some practicing, we certainly hope to do that as often and as frequently as we can. Much like yourselves, we look forward to physically seeing each other, and if nothing more, then bumping elbows. Anyway, that's it for me right now and for the drums.
Thank you, Ross. Appreciate the update. Now we go to Manitoba, the forces of Lord Selkirk, Frederick Karstead reporting.
Good afternoon, everyone. Just so everyone's clear, what the forces of Lord Selkirk represent are the Swiss regiments that Thomas Douglas hired to come out to the Red River Colony as a protective force. So we're primarily Demeron's Swiss regiment and a smaller membership that portrayed de Watteau's Swiss regiment. We've got 16 fully paid members, 12 in Winnipeg, 4 in Thunder Bay, and another 7 kind of peripheral members who fall in when they can, 2 out in Dauphin, Manitoba, and 5 scattered in down in the States who fall in us when we do events south of the border. And we had 2 potential recruits. Our last big gathering was Festival de Voyageurs 2020. That was just prior to the lockdown. And we had a socially distanced picnic in June of last year. Events for 2021, we're looking at a socially distanced range shoot in May, a couple of drill sessions spread over the summer, and then if things work out, an encampment, just us privately in September. In rank breakdown, we've got 2 people who can portray sergeants, 2 corporals, 1 lance corporal, and I can do an officer impression as required. But I confess I'm looking at just returning to the ranks and just worrying about my musket and not a group of people. We got approached by a movie company for a potential historical battle shoot, where they want us to act as advisors and drill instructors. That's scheduled for September, but that will depend on how things pan out. Attending events beyond our local area is difficult. When we do Ontario events, we like to take the shortcut through northern Michigan, and that's currently closed to us. And we've also been told that our closest US event, which is Prairie du Chien, Wisconsin, which the Royal Scots attended a few years ago, they've said that they're using this summer as a maintenance opportunity and will not be open to the public. So other than our few local events, we're looking at 2020 to get back into the game of things. I envy those who are holding lots of Zoom meetings. We've only really held one, but we've stayed in touch via emails and text messages in the interim. And we'll see what happens when we get active again. How many have decided to age out and retire their muskets? So that's it for me.
Thank you, Frederick. Appreciate the update. Now we will go to the 1st Battalion Lennox Militia, John Evans. John?
Thanks, Tom. Hi, I'm representing the 1st Battalion of Lennox Militia. We're a new regiment. We haven't even actually gotten to reenact with each other yet because at any big events because of how new we are. Our area of membership is mostly in the National Capital Region, as well as the Ottawa Valley. We're very centralized in that area. We currently have 6 members on the field, as well as some camp followers and some people who are interested in joining. Our current unit morale, I would say, is average. We all want to get out in the field and we all want to get back to reenacting, but we're holding out hope that that will happen soon enough. Over the last 12 months, we had a camping trip. We've done some Zoom calls. Our camping trip was very good for getting together and learning how our drill looks as a unit and learning how we are going to do our impression. We also have a small group that does Dungeons and Dragons every Thursday night within our group. So they're keeping themselves busy that way. Our events for this year is we're planning another camping trip. We were hoping for the spring, but unfortunately new restrictions are blocking that off. So we pushed it to the summer. And if Dunvegan is happening, we are hoping to go to that. Thanks.
Thank you, John, and welcome to the Crown Forces for the Lennox Militia. At this point, we'll go 2nd Battalion Lincoln Militia, Rafe Sculthorpe. Rafe?
I'm Captain Rafe Sculthorpe, 2nd Lincoln Militia. We're mainly based in the Niagara Peninsula. Our main drill area is around St. Catharines. We've got 1 officer, 1 acting NCO, 9 muskets, 6 camp followers. We've been stood down since the beginning of the pandemic, and until vaccinations are commonplace, we'll probably stay that way. Although we are available for socially distanced activities, so if anything comes along, for God's sakes, let me know. Aside from that, members are, as to be expected, getting on with their lives and businesses and so forth. So we'll have to see what happens when the dust settles and we can all get back on the field. But I know an awful lot of us are really looking forward to getting by the fire and hanging out with everybody else here. So I think that's about all I have to report.
Thank you, Rafe. Appreciate that. 2nd Battalion York Militia, Greg Carraro.
And Tom, I'd like to thank you for always saving the best unit till last. Greg Carraro, hi everybody, 2nd Regiment of York Militia, Thompson's company. We held our virtual AGM March 28th, and at that time, the unit strength was and still is 30. That includes 2 officers, 5 NCOs, 13 men at arms, 6 camp followers, and 3 children. I would say morale is pretty good. We stay in touch. We don't have the frequent Zoom meetings, but we've got a lot of younger fellows, and so Discord is the social gathering place of choice. So that keeps everyone in touch with each other. It's also an opportunity for us to individually take on different projects, researching kit, researching uniforms and things like that. And then we share it with the group. So there's an ongoing education piece within the company. Also, we're keeping busy by creating a fair bit of digital material, such as most recently, we've created an online newsletter, and that's available on our website, secondyork.com. We're also currently producing online content, educational and instructional material, mainly videos for YouTube and social media, and that's done in cooperation with Heritage Mississauga. I should also add, so morale is good. I mean, everyone's itching to get out there, obviously, but we haven't lost anybody. We've had full retention, and we have been able to pick up 3 new recruits. And so that's a positive. And let's see what else. Bradley, oh, well, hoping to drill at some point in the summer. We are mainly we're based in Mississauga, and a lot of our members are in the Peel region. And of course, as everybody knows, Peel is probably the worst place in Canada right now. So it's really limiting our opportunity to physically get together. That said, we do have members in Guelph and Peterborough, one in Long Island. So we're pretty spread out there, and we're able to keep in touch online. It really is technology is really doing wonders for us at this point. But we are going to attempt a drill sometime in the summer, socially distanced, of course. If not, we are working on producing video material to keep the joints oiled and the muskets as well. As far as Bradley's concerned, we're treating it as a go until told otherwise. We have the site booked, and just so everybody knows, it is October 1st and 2nd. And it really is up to Peel Health and municipal restrictions that's going to determine if it goes ahead, and of course, if it goes ahead, what it's going to look like. So we're just going to be as nimble as possible and prepare for whatever, the opportunity, whatever is available to us at the time. And I think that's about it.
Thank you, Greg. And for the record, you are not the last unit to report. We still have a few more to go here. So representing the Merchants and Sutlers, Tim Foster, also known as Helmet.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. The Merchants and Sutlers are all really anxious to get going again. And we're stockpiling product as we're sitting here on our asses otherwise. We're not doing too much. We're a rather independent bunch, so it's some communication between us, but enough to know that most of us are still active and want to be active. We are planning to try and organize 2 selling events in the fall to allow people to restock and maybe get Yule presents. So there's talk about one down maybe at Bacchus Page House, and then one more of a Yule event happening in Hamilton, like the old Yule fair that we had. Other than that, that's about it for us, other than we're also trying to work out more demonstrations and that can happen within the merchants area to entertain the visitors. That's it.
Thank you, Tim. Sure, I speak for most in the hobby. We're missing our opportunities to go walking through the Merchants and Sutlers and have a browse and say hello and socialize with people. So soon enough, we'll be back to that. Mark Suka, representing the British Indian Department, didn't wish to appear on camera. He says he's watching the live stream, but he did send me a bit of an update on behalf of the British Indian Department. Their membership, it's somewhere 3 to 7 members. And he said that through this time, they've been working hard to improve their camp displays for a season whenever that might resume. So I appreciate the update from Mark. And then I guess it's all right for us to give a bit of an update on your Crown Forces staff. It seems like the work never ends. So we've had a mix of meetings, as we've worked through various things and trying to communicate with everyone and also with the sites. Also, we've had our own opportunity for socials after the meetings finish, then maybe we might have a beverage or two. And then we've also hosted some virtual messes for the officers, so the Leek and Thistle Club. So like everyone, we're dearly missing, or we're very much missing the hobby we dearly love. So I appreciate the report backs from everyone. It was nice to see so many familiar faces and to hear how everyone's doing. So at this point, I'm going to share my screen again, and we're going back to the presentation where I'm going to turn this over to our adjutant and sergeant major. where they have the 3 slides to take us through. So I believe, Colin, you're going to kick us off.
Actually, I think he was going to start us off with the drill.
Okay.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So just a few quick things. So obviously, we're coming into our second year of not being able to really participate in the hobby, but there may be chances for us to get together as groups, and I think we could use this opportunity to really get the cobwebs out and get the rust off our joints. And the staff would recommend that we focus on the basics. Looking to the rules and regulations. Go through part 1 of rules and regulations. The instruction of a recruit. Start with basic foot drill without arms, and build yourself back up. Build back up the muscle memory, and take it slow. Honestly, don't rush through it. I don't think I can. I'm speaking alone when the last year and a half has not been the best physically for me. I could do a lot more to get my butt off the chair. So when we all together again in uniform, hopefully as units, maybe later in the year, and we get the chance to drill together, again, take it nice and slow, go step by step, and use these opportunities to really perfect the basic motions. And so that when we all come together again as a larger group, maybe in 2022 or very late 2021, we can be looking the best we can. As Craig was saying, focus on the motions between movements, and really take this opportunity to perfect the basics. And of course, when talking about the basics, we're also talking about with arms as well. So open up the manual platoon exercise and take a close look at the manual exercise and the platoon exercise with the firing instructions. And again, take it nice and slow when practicing the movements. Do it by motion. Don't rush through it. There's no need to rush through it. We can take our time with this, and we can build back up our muscle memory, and it will come back quicker than maybe we expect. But there's no need to rush through it. Let's take it slow, and let's make sure that, again, that when we get back together, we're looking the best we can. Now, Colin's going to take the next slide.
Thanks, Ewan. And so with that, we also thought we want to just quickly talk about some areas for kit maintenance and check. I'm sure many of us, myself included, we haven't really looked at our kit in a while, especially if we haven't been able to do much. So we just wanted to suggest that, especially with weather starting to improve, that just take your kit out and take a look at it. Most importantly, of course, the musket. The biggest thing. Check the barrels. Rust can accumulate even when you don't think it would be. Give them an oil, give them a swab if you need to. Check behind the locks, give them an oil or grease. Make sure the ramrod hasn't seized up. Put some leather conditioning on the stocks if they're starting to dry out. In terms of wool garments, pull your tunics out. As we all know, the risk with moss, particularly with wool coats, like check them out. Even if you're not sure, just take them out. Also make sure, if there's any lace that's coming off, this is a good time to try and sew stuff back on. With buttons as well. Buttons are kind of a never-ending struggle, particularly with braces, buttons and stuff, but take the time, resew them, check, add extra reinforcement stitching, particularly if the buttons are being heavily used. With brass, give your brass a polish. Most of us, know that brass tarnishes pretty quickly. So, give it a polish now. Your future self will thank you. And with the leather belting and whatnot, depending on what your belting is typically made of, what kind of leather, whether it's buff or fake buff or black or whatever, different types of leather can dry out and get stiff depending on what it is. So again, just give it a check, put some whitening on it, give it some fresh leather conditioner, me too. Also check the cartridge boxes. I've personally seen some cartridge boxes have been left in a closet, but it's a little bit humid. And after a few months, there's literally layers of basically light mold growing on them. Just check all that stuff. Footwear is, of course, a big one. We can't really function if our shoes aren't comfortable. So leather shoes can get dried out. So check to make sure that they're still pliable. Add some polish or some waterproofing, some double, whatever you need. Wooden canteens, of course, especially if you actually functionally use them. Check them, make sure that they are still sealed, resealed. If you have to put some water in it to try and get them sealed up again. with your tent poles, that's another big thing, especially for those of us who maybe keep tent poles outside. A couple seasons of snow and water accumulation can cause cracks in tent poles, especially at the top where the pegs go in. So hopefully you don't have to replace them and spend a small fortune on new wood and lumber right now. But just give them a check and be aware in case you have to do any repairs. And with that, of course, with actual canvas, if you have a big backyard or have space, if it's a nice sunny day support this summer, set up your tent, give it an air out, make sure it hasn't gotten any mold or accumulation from being a little bit humid, or maybe slightly put away dry if you didn't realize it. Just take the tent out and give it an air out. It'll be helpful for the future. And for cookware, of course, cast iron, give it a check, give it an oil, re-season if you have to. Just check all this stuff. We have the time. I'd like the last thing any of us want to see is the first battalion inspection, likely next year, that we go do a musket check and everyone's muskets are rusty. 2 years, I think there's plenty of time to check it. So that's basically it. Just check your kit. There's no rush, but we all have time. So take a bit of an inventory of what you got. Anyway, I'll hand it back over to you and now for the last slide.
And for the last slide, something that we have been talking as a staff is the idea of starting to populate the Crown Forces YouTube page with videos that the community can produce themselves. One of the first things we were talking is to create essentially digital unit diaries. And this gives the chance for reenactment units to share their own histories, their identities, their traditions. This is an opportunity for you to tell about your story, both in the historical context of the unit you represent, as well as who you are today as a reenactment unit. So this can act as not only a bit of a way of showcasing your unit and the history of the unit you represent, but also could function as a recruiting tool as well. And if everyone who was on the call today participated in this and each produced a video, you can imagine we'd have quite a number of videos up on the channel that would attract viewership and potentially attract prospective recruits. And having your individual units on the channel too would allow people to see the diversity that we have in the hobby when it comes to the representation that we have. And this is just going to be the first step of populating our YouTube channel. Another idea that we hope to implement once things start to come back together post-COVID is to put up instructional videos, starting with the manual of arms and the platoon exercise. If you want to get a sense of what this could look like, for those who haven't seen it yet, Abel Lang produced an instructional video earlier this year on the funeral exercises, and that could give you an idea of what these videos could look like down the line. Now, these instructional videos are not happening right away. We don't want to start making them until we can start to come back together as a community again. But these unit videos, if some of the more enterprising among us want to get going on it, go at it. Start producing short videos, anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes, and you can send them on to Tom and the other members of the staff, and we can get them up on the YouTube page, and again start to populate this channel and start to attract viewership to the channel and get the word out of the hobby in these very difficult and unusual times.
All right. Thanks, Ewan. Appreciate the update. And I really would like to see some of these videos. One thing I noted during the unit report backs, even during this time of COVID and not being able to get together, people still have been gaining recruits, and some of them have come through the universal recruiting portal on the Crown Forces website. So I think it would be really interesting to have unit videos that people could look, and then that would assist them in their researching potential groups and who to join. I think the more tools we have out there, then maybe that will make the process of recruiting a little bit easier. So at this point, I'm going to suggest that we revisit the Q&A. Chris, if you could bring forward any questions there, and then I'm going to highlight a comment that showed up on the chat here on Zoom, because that's not seen by the audience on YouTube. So Patrick Schifferdecker talks about heat treating your wool in the dryer for 15 minutes to kill webbing cloth moths. He said dry wool will not shrink. So a useful tip there. Thank you, Patrick.
Thanks, Tom. So a couple things. First, we had somebody on the chat was asking, Mark, you were talking about the possibility of the 95th doing a live shoot. And so this person in the chat actually knows Jim Tate pretty well. So I sent him that direction. I hope that's okay. But just on that note, I thought I would mention that if you're watching this video later, you don't have access to the live chat. There are lots of ways to get in touch with us. You're welcome to email Tom or myself if you've got questions. For example, if you wanted to know more about that live shoot and you don't have Mark's contact information, we can pass that along. And of course, don't forget Facebook as well. You can go to the Facebook group, the Crown Forces Facebook group, ask any questions you'd like there, and we can help you out. There's one other thing that I don't think, Tom, we really want to discuss it here, but I think maybe an idea for maybe a future conversation amongst all of us is in these difficult times. First off, I wanted to say, it sounds like lots of people are still recruiting and doing fantastic things. But Ben just mentioned, is there anything that we can do if we're not going to see events for at least 6 months, maybe even another full year? Is there anything that we as a hobby can do to keep those new recruits interested, maybe electronically? And I know there were certainly some ideas that came up, but maybe we could flesh out some more ideas together at some point in the future. And at that point, I don't see any other questions in the chat. Again, there is a little bit of a delay, so if people want to keep typing, I'm still here. I'm still keeping an eye on it, but those were the only ones that have come up so far.
Thanks, Chris. And I'll point out, especially for anyone watching a playback, that the Crown Forces website is in the background or information for this channel, so people can find us that way. And yes, your son did pop in and visit for a second, Chris. So we've captured that on video. So we're going to turn this over to Craig in just a moment for his closing thoughts. I want to point out we did put a call out asking for recognizing anyone from various groups that had passed away, during this period of time when we haven't been able to get together, and we had really limited responses. So I think we won't spend too much time on that. I do know that there was passings of lots of dear friends, and it's even harder, or one of the difficult things about this is not being able to be together and commemorate them. So at this point, Mr. Williams, if you could rejoin us, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you, Tom. Just a footnote on what Colin was talking about earlier. If you're going to clean your brass now, which is, as he said, your later self will thank you for doing that. Do yourself another favor, and after it's cleaned, take a little bit of WD-40 on a rag and rub it down with the WD-40 afterward. You'll find you'll lift a lot more tarnish off that you didn't look apparent, first of all, and secondly, that polish will last a lot longer. It creates almost like an airtight seal over it, so that it doesn't age as quickly. We're getting closer to the backside of this pandemic, but we're not close enough to bite it yet. Some of our number or their family members have had COVID. We all know someone who's had it. And the number one takeaway is, well, it is much harder on some of us than others. It is highly contagious. And while as individuals we may not be greatly affected, for those that we may pass this on to, it can be terrible. So please stay safe, protect yourself and those you love around you, please. Tom has already talked about how we lost a few of our number this year, and sadly. I think I'm not really gonna. I don't know that this is the venue to do a memorial service per se. I would just like to say, can we just take a moment right now, just a moment right now, to have a moment of thought for those people that we lost, our friends who have suffered COVID already. And just the hope that we see each other soon. So can we just take a moment of silence, please? Thank you. So in closing, for me anyway, I'm going to hand it back over to Tom very shortly, I just want to say, stay safe, stay healthy, and I hope to see you all soon to share the field, the camp, the fire, the drinks, the songs, the camaraderie. I miss all of you people very, very much. Thank you for coming to this meeting today. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Craig. I'm going to put a slide up in a moment, and then we'll have the link detail for the pub, the after hours venue, different than where we've been here, and that's somewhere where everyone can join us. So just want to thank everyone for their participation and their support. Everyone being willing to jump on the line and represent their units. I think it was great to get some perspective on everyone and to hear how you've been doing. I'll echo what Craig says. It's a hobby we love. It's something that we're all dearly missing, and we look forward to being together again. But we have an opportunity to get together in just a moment. Bear with me. There we go. So we're going to have a pub. We're going to close this off in a moment. There is the link, Ryan or someone, I don't know if you can put it in the live chat again. It helps save someone having to scroll all the way back through that. And hopefully we can see some people in there where everyone's unmuted, able to talk, and we can get caught up for a little bit. So thanks for joining us this afternoon. It's not ideal, but I still think it's a great way to connect and maintain our sense of community. So thank you, everyone. Take care. Be safe out there. And until we can see you on the field at an event, goodbye.